In the annals of American history, the story of New York often revolves around its iconic skyline, bustling streets, and the diverse tapestry of cultures that define it. Yet, buried beneath this vibrant narrative lies a darker chapter, one that speaks to the complexities of freedom, oppression, and resistance. The first slave revolt in New York City, which erupted in 1712, is a tale often overlooked. Yet it is a crucial piece of the puzzle that helps us understand the city's past and the broader implications of slavery in colonial America. In the early 18th century, New York was a bustling port city, a melting pot of various cultures and peoples. However, it was also a place where the institution of slavery was deeply entrenched. By 1712, the slave population in New York had grown significantly, with enslaved Africans making up a considerable portion of the city's population. These individuals were not just laborers. They were skilled artisans, domestic workers and laborers who contributed to the burgeoning economy. Yet, despite their contribution, they lived under the oppressive weight of bondage, stripped of their rights and subjected to the whims of their masters. The tension between the enslaved population and their owners was palpable. The conditions of slavery were brutal, marked by harsh treatment and a lack of basic human rights. Enslaved individuals were often subjected to long hours of labor, physical punishment, and the constant threat of separation from their families. This oppressive environment fostered a sense of unrest among the enslaved, who began to seek ways to resist their conditions. The seeds of rebellion were sown, and the discontent simmered beneath the surface, waiting for an opportunity to erupt. That opportunity came in April 1712, when a group of enslaved Africans, fueled by anger and desperation, ignited a revolt in the heart of the city. The uprising began in the early hours of a Saturday morning, when a group of around 20 enslaved individuals gathered in a house on the outskirts of the city. Their plan was simple yet audacious: to rise up against their oppressors and fight for their freedom. Armed with weapons they had acquired, they set fire to a building, creating chaos and confusion. The flames quickly spread, and the sounds of crackling wood and screams filled the air. The revolt was not merely an act of violence, it was a desperate cry for liberation. As the smoke billowed into the sky, the enslaved individuals launched their attack on the white population of the city. They targeted homes and businesses, seeking to assert their autonomy in a world that had denied it to them for so long. The initial response from the colonial authorities was swift and brutal. They mobilized the city's militia and called for reinforcements, determined to quell the uprising before it could gain momentum. The revolt was met with overwhelming force, and the enslaved individuals found themselves outnumbered and outgunned. The aftermath of the revolt was devastating. In the days that followed, the colonial government executed several of the captured rebels, displaying their bodies in public as a warning to others who might consider similar acts of defiance. The city was gripped by fear, and the white population turned against the enslaved community, viewing them as a collective threat rather than individuals with their own stories and struggles. The revolt led to stricter laws governing the enslaved, further tightening the grip of oppression and reinforcing the system of slavery that had become so deeply embedded in the fabric of colonial society. The revolt of 1712 was significant not only for its immediate impact, but also for the way it shaped the narrative of resistance in New York. It marked one of the earliest instances of organized rebellion in the colonies, setting a precedent for future uprisings. Enslaved individuals across the region took note of the events in New York, understanding that the quest for freedom was fraught with danger, but also imbued with the possibility of success. The revolt served as a reminder that the spirit of resistance could not be easily extinguished, even in the face of overwhelming odds. In the years that followed, the legacy of the 1712 revolt continued to resonate. It became a point of reference for subsequent generations of enslaved individuals and abolitionists alike. The stories of those who participated in the revolt were passed down, their bravery celebrated as part of a larger narrative of resistance against oppression. The events of that fateful day in 1712 echoed through the corridors of history, influencing the discourse around slavery and freedom in New York and beyond. However, the revolt also served to reinforce the racial divides that characterized colonial society. The fear generated by the uprising led to a hardening of attitudes among the white population, who increasingly viewed enslaved individuals as threats to their safety and security. The colonial government enacted laws that further restricted the rights of the enslaved, creating a culture of surveillance and repression that would persist for decades. The legacy of the revolt became intertwined with the history of racism and discrimination that would plague the nation for centuries. Today, the story of New York's first slave revolt remains largely unrecognized in mainstream narratives. It is a reminder of the complexities of the city's history and the struggles that have shaped its identity. The Revolt of 1712 is not just a footnote in the history of slavery. It is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring quest for freedom. As we reflect on this overlooked chapter, we must acknowledge the voices of those who fought for their rights and recognize the importance of remembering their stories. In doing so, we honor their legacy and continue the work of understanding and confronting the enduring impact of slavery in our society today.